What's going on, guys? PlayBox here, and we're back for another Dragon Ball Legends video. In this one, we're going to be going over the top 5 best teams to run in PvP. So, for those of you who haven't watched my video that I made recently on the top 10 best units in the game currently, in that video I mentioned that I also want to do one where I go over the top 5 best teams in the game. I'm basically doing this as like a lead up to part 3 of the anniversary, because for those of you who don't know, they did announce a reveals and stuff date. I believe it is on July 12th, Tuesday at 2 p.m. UTC, which translates over to 10 a.m. EST, which is my time zone. So that's gonna be when they're gonna reveal the units for part 3. So I do believe the unit, I do think it's only going to be one unit, unfortunately. The unit that drops on part 3 is going to be probably an Ultra, and most likely going to be an Ultra Super Vegito. But, we never know. It could be, an Ultra Buhan or whatever. But it's definitely probably going to be a Buu Saga related Ultra unit, since we got, the Majin Vegeta, and there's been leaks already going out that Super Vegito is coming out. But regardless, I do think that unit is going to probably change the meta quite a bit. Hopefully they can dethrone the stupid androids as the #1 unit, but we'll just have to wait and see. So doing these type of videos leading into that supposed meta shift, I think would be a good idea to see how it does, how basically the meta is right now, and then later on we'll compare it and see how it is later. So I have 5 teams here. I also have a couple teams. Basically how I'm going to structure this video is, this was very hard to make because, believe it or not, there are so many viable teams in PvP right now. There's actually, they're all pretty relative to each other. I wouldn't say there's one. I mean, I do think there's one that's slightly above the rest, but not by that much. I feel like all the teams right now are kind of relative to each other. Well, not all the teams, but all the top teams. So it was really hard for me to pick these teams, and so I'm not going to be ranking them from 1 to 5 to 1 or 1 to 5, whatever. I'm just going to be laying out the best 5 teams in the game without any ranking, because like I said, they're all pretty relative to each other. But I will mention which one is, I think, the best team in the game currently. But before we hop straight into this top 5, I do have 2 teams that I want to mention as an honorable mention. So we're going to start off with those ones first. So the first team I want to mention is the Fusion Warriors. Oops, I pulled up the wrong tag here. So let me just go here. Fusion Warriors. So the Fusion Warriors team is the first one on the honorables mention list. This used to be one of the best teams in the game, literally prior to the 4th anniversary. It used to be one of the best teams in the game. It's still a very good team. Of course, you have Ultra Gogeta. Vegito Blue got a Zenkai, but you're probably going to be running Ultra Gogeta instead. Super Vegito still solid. You got this free-to-play Gogeta. And Gogeta 4 is still solid, right? But other than that, I feel like this team is really hardly centered around Ultra Gogeta, because he's by far the best unit in this team. And then other than him, there aren't any other super meta relevant units on this team, right? Vegito Blue is good, don't get me wrong. Gogeta 4 is good, but when you compare it to teams that are in the higher echelon of this list, they have just so many more Z tier units, whereas Fusions only has literally one. There's really no other unit here that can be considered a Z tier unit or a top 10 unit, potentially Vegito Blue, right? But other than that, there isn't really any. And obviously you could probably leader slot a really good unit. I see a lot of leader slots from MUI Goku as their red unit, because they are lacking in a pretty solid red unit. So that's a pretty good combination there. But still, despite being a solid team, I feel like they're lacking in stuff that really good teams have. For example, a revival unit would go a long way for this team, because endurance nowadays is really not it, right? So maybe a revival unit for this team would be somewhat solid, and maybe another support unit. Oob is kind of dead right now, so maybe a support unit also could help out this team. But they're still a solid team. They can still perform pretty well. Next up on the honorables mentioned list is going to be the Saiyan team. This is specifically the build with Ultra Gogeta, MUI Goku, and Super Saiyan 3 Goku. 3 very good units, right? The reason why this is not as high as it could be is because the core is basically these 3. You're not going to bring any other team unit other than them. And a lot of, they can be pretty easily countered obviously by the androids, but the androids they can counter any team, right? So it's not really a fair comparison. But they don't have any sort of rush control. They do have Ultra Instinct Goku's unique gauge, to be able to stall out. But other than that, they're very susceptible to rush, which a lot of teams honestly are susceptible to rush. But these guys are even worse. But and other than that, you don't really have that much color options, right? A lot of the other teams, you have multiple color options. So it's like I said, these teams are not bad. By no means are they bad. You're running Ultra Gogeta, MUI Goku, and or UI Goku and Triforce Goku. This is by far not a bad team. It's very good. You can compete. You can go into the higher ranks with this. But for sure, I feel like the other teams up here, they offer kind of just a bit more, right? So let's move on into the actual top 5 here. Okay, thank you. So the first team on this list is going to be Universe Survival Saga. Now, I was contemplating on putting the Saiyan team above Universe Survival Saga, but it's not really that big of a deal. You could honestly flip-flop them around. Honestly, just looking at this roster, I would maybe argue putting Saiyans above Universe Survival Saga. You know what? I would honestly put Saiyans above Universe Survival Saga. Just looking at the roster now, like the main team, right? UI Goku, Kaioken Goku, Jiren, Golden Frieza. That's gonna be your main lineup there. They don't really have a blue. They have Beerus, I guess. They have this transforming Vegeta, who's a Z tier unit. I bet even Kale is better than transforming Vegeta, but you have the Beerus, I guess. But if you just compare the core of this versus the Saiyans team, I think the Saiyans team would just completely shit on them, right? Like Ultra Gogeta is better than every unit here. Oops, I kind of went through there. MUI Goku's on both teams. Giant Fist Goku, I would say, is relative to Golden Frieza, or even a bit better. I would say Giant Fist Goku is better than Golden Frieza. So yeah, I would actually put the Saiyans team above Universe Survival Saga. So Universe Survival Saga will be in my honorable mention. There's just something with this team that is blatantly missing. They're missing a support unit. Jiren's endurance is not very reliable, so I would say they would need a revival unit. This Vegeta, dude, if he was a revival unit, this team would have been so much better, because then they have a guaranteed way of having a rising rush control unit. But it just feels like even with these very strong units, it just doesn't perform as well as like some of these other teams. I don't know why. It just feels like that. I just feel like most of these units perform better on their actual team, and then this is just like a side Z ability that they were given to. That's what it just feels like. They don't mesh well together, in my opinion. But they're still very strong units on the same team, sharing the same Z ability. So it just for the fact that having Golden Frieza, UI Goku, and Kaioken Goku is definitely worth it being in the honorables mentioned. So that's gonna be for this one. So like I said, I think upon inspection here, I would probably put Saiyans above Universe Survival Saga. So Saiyan's gonna be at our number 5 though. Moving on, is it our number 5? Wait, let me just look. Sure, yeah, it's gonna be our number 5. I mean, like I said, it's not really ranked, these top 5 teams, but this is gonna be our first team that we're talking about. Next up, we're going up to Lineage of Evil. Lineage of Evil, prior to the 4th anniversary, I think was pretty undisputedly the best team in the game, right? You had Golden Frieza, who honestly some would argue was the best unit in the game, right? Golden Frieza, Revival Frieza, who's amazingly good, Full Power Frieza, who was very good, who still is very good. You got the purple LF Frieza, supplying the blue cards for these bastards to just wreak havoc. I mean, that's pretty much what you're going to be running. But the little cherry on top for this Lineage of Evil team is the most popular builds of Lineage of Evil have the tag androids on the leader slot. So they're gonna be your main red unit. So just imagine running the tag androids with Revival Frieza and Golden Frieza, and then occasionally you can bring in this Full Power Frieza and First Form Frieza. But I think the core is definitely the tag androids with the Revival Frieza and Golden Frieza, and that is just a nasty combination. The the Dragon Ball manipulation. This guy destroying 2 on his main ability up after transformation. After Revival, sorry. You have this guy that destroys Dragon Ball. I believe it's on his blue card when he lands the blue card. I could be wrong on that, but I do believe it's on his blue card. Then you got the tag androids that destroy Dragon Ball. I believe it's 2 every time you switch into 17. So Lineage of Evil, their biggest asset is that Dragon Ball manipulation. And of course they have someone to take the rush in the form of Frieza. He has sub count reduction. It's just a very cohesive team, always having ki. This Golden Frieza has like unlimited healing. It's just very, very solid here. And you really can't go wrong with using this team, right? It has taken a bit of a step, a back seat in comparison to when it first, when it was during the pre-4th anniversary. But don't get me wrong, this team is still very solid. I would say their biggest, I guess their weakest link would probably be the first form Frieza. So they would probably need a new purple unit. Imagine if they Zenkai this purple cooler and he's actually not ass. That would be just disgusting. But their weakest link is this first form Frieza, but this first form Frieza is still very good. So that just goes to show how good this team is, right? So that's gonna be it on that end. Moving on to number 3, it's gonna be kind of, this team here is basically like 3 tags but meshed together. It's gonna be the Powerful Opponent / Future Saga team. This was a very, very good team, potentially even the best team. Debating with LOE and this team prior to the 4th anniversary, and it still is one of the better teams to run in the game. So basically the core of this is the tag androids, Perfect Cell, and what I like to run if you're gonna go for the Powerful Opponent build is the Revival Frieza. And then you're Zenkai buffing this guy with these guys with the Rose, and then Zenkai buffing this guy with Android 21, and then you can either throw a bench, or you can double Zenkai this Android with the Fusion 13. So that's double Zenkai buffing him, and then single Zenkai buffing him, and then the Frieza, of course. That's a very solid build there. But also some people like to go the Future route and put, instead of Revival Frieza, they would use, Sword of Hope Trunks. You can use Future Gohan, just to have that endurance. But I think the better build would be to run with the Revival Frieza, because Revival right now is just a lot better than endurance. It's honestly just because of these guys, because you pretty much see them almost in every game, and these guys have type advantage over him and type advantage over him, completely destroying their endurance, right? So it's pretty stupid. So that's why having this Revival instead would make it a lot better. But even if you don't have like these units, you could still rock this Aleph Broly that just recently got a platinum equipment, so he's pretty solid there. Full Power Frieza is still really good. Tapion, my boy Tapion, another Rising Rush control unit, offering great support, does a lot of damage for a support type, and he has pretty high defenses for a support type. So all around, just a phenomenal unit, reducing your sub count by 10 when the enemy uses a Rising Rush, so similar to the Zenkai Otherworld Goku. This dude is very, very good, and you can honestly opt in to, you can pretty much rock these 4 units and just bring whoever you need based on the situation, right? So they have a very strong core here with pretty much all 4 of these units. I would consider Z tier, and then obviously these guys just above everyone else. So very, very good team here. Really can't go wrong with this team. I mean, you could pretty much easily hit God rank with this team. Granted, you play enough, you could easily just hit God rank with this team. So that's going to be our number 3 team. Again, I say number 3, but they're not ranked number 3. But that's going to be our 3rd team. Moving on to our 4th team here, we have the Sagas from the movie team, or the movie Sagas team, or whatever you want to call it. That just recently got a massive buff in the form of this Dragon Fist Goku and the Tapion. So pretty much the most optimal build here would be running Ultra Gogeta on the leader slot. So running him on the leader slot, then having this Giant Fist Goku, Tapion, and then Revival Gohan, believe it or not. Yes, Revival Gohan's usage and his value has skyrocketed with the release of these Giant Fist Goku and Hero Tapion. Running these 2, you have pretty much 2 units that can eat the Rising Rush. Granted, even though, don't get me wrong, even though Tapion can eat the rush because of his minus 10 sub counts, in certain situations, you actually wouldn't want to risk losing this guy, because you would actually want to use him for the support, for the damage. His blue card does a lot of damage. Green card is very good, giving you nullification of cover. He does a lot of things, right? So in certain cases, you might not want to use sack him off to the rush. That's where Revival Gohan would be there. He can easily eat the rush, you know, and get more powerful, right? I would honestly recommend using this guy over Goku and Vegeta, which is pretty crazy. So yeah, that's a very strong core. The only thing that I would say is their weakest link is that they don't have any red unit. You could leader a unit, but then you would risk losing the ultra ability on this guy, so I don't think that would be worth it. So, you know, they're missing out on a red unit. I guess you can still use this Bojack or this Piccolo, right? But you're almost never going to bring them in battle, so because they don't have a red unit, they're very easily countered by, well, not easily, but they're an easy counter would be the Ultra Kaioken Goku, because, you know, no red units, and that guy will just infinitely combo you forever. So I feel like this team's biggest weakness is that Ultra Kaioken Goku, who's, you know, he's not that common nowadays, but he's still somewhat common, right? He's, I guess the word would be uncommon. Is that? Yeah, I guess so. So, you know, that would be their biggest link, weakest link, or weakness, sorry. But if you don't see a Kaioken Goku, like, there isn't really that many yellow units other than, I guess, if you're going against another movie's team. This team can really, like, pretty much counter your, the whole team. Just, you could argue this is the best team in the game, but I do think the next team is kind of a bit better. Discussing the optimal build here, like I said, Giant Fist Goku, Tapion, Revival Gohan, Ultra Gogeta. Then you can either opt to Zenkai buff this Goku with the Zenkai Broly, or you can who was it? You can buff him, or I think you can Zenkai buff the Ultra Gogeta with, was it Broly and Chila? I forgot. No, they buffed Frieza first, right? I forgot who it was. Or I think you would Zenkai buff the Revival Gohan with the purple Dragon Ball Super Broly. Yeah, something like that. I would mostly go with the Zenkai buff for Giant Fist Goku, because, you know, I mostly bring him into battle. It's usually Ultra Gogeta and Giant Fist Goku, and then my third option is either Revival Gohan or Tapion. So I'd opt to Zenkai buff Goku instead of Revival Gohan. But you can go either way and it will still work. And then you got Gokua on the bench for that nice HP buff there. So that's going to be our 14 movie sagas. If you have all these units, definitely try them out. I think they're definitely one of the most fun team to use. But, you know, that's just me. Moving on to our final team. I do think this is currently the best team in the game. It's kind of unfortunate because it's more of like a meta slave type team. It's not a team that people like main. It's just a team that is good right currently because of what the meta is. It's similar to how Mono Purple was back in during the Legends Festival. It's not a team. Mono Purple is not a team that people main. It's just a team that people use to grind PvP because it was such a good team, right? So, you know, you call these people meta slaves or whatever, but the team is going to be God Key, but specifically a red purple team that involves this Ultra Instinct Goku, Whis, and the tag androids. I'm pretty sure you guys can see where this is going, right? MUI Goku, you know, stalling forever, counters for days. Whis providing immense support, the 60 timer count cover nullification, which can come in extremely clutch. He has the obscure ability, but you honestly don't want to use that obscure ability because you want to save the green cards that he holds. He holds a green card, so that means you'll be getting a lot more green cards. And those green cards go either to Ultra Instinct Goku or the tag androids. And we all know what happens when the tag androids get a hold of a green card. Yes, you basically win the game because they cover null for literally ever, they combo for literally forever, and they just beat you down until you die. So I think this probably would be the best team in the game. But like I say, all the other teams are so good, it's really hard to compare them. But I do think they have a slight edge over them because not only are they very meta competitive, but they have a way to give the androids more green cards than all the other teams. Because in all the other teams, the androids don't have a better way of getting green cards. This way, they're at least getting twice as many green cards. And like I just said, that's almost a guaranteed win if you just land a green card with them. So the build would be running the androids on the leader slot, then UI Goku and Whis, and then you're Zenkai buffing UI Goku and the androids with Super Saiyan Rose Goku Black, and then you're Zenkai buffing the Whis with either Fusion Zamasu or even the Super Saiyan God Vegeta, Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta. But I think Zamasu would be the better option because his Z ability is better, of course. And then on the bench, you could honestly just double Zenkai buff the Whis, but there's really no point in double Zenkai buffing him. He's literally the unit that you sack off for the rush, right? So there's no point. Instead, I think the better option would be to go with a Zenkai buff. Sorry, not a Zenkai buff, but an HP buff in the form of the God Goku. So that would be pretty much the best build of the best team in the game right now. So that's pretty much all the best teams in the game. Like I said, keep repeating, it's very hard to rank them, but I do think this team slightly takes it over the edge compared to the other one. But they're all very relative to each other, and you cannot go wrong with running any of these teams. All these teams could easily get you to God rank, granted you play enough matches, right? So hopefully this is helpful for you guys to, probably to help you guys, build teams. If you're struggling to build teams, maybe this could have helped you. Or if you just wanted an idea on what the top teams are in the meta currently, so you can base your teams upon that. Hopefully that helps you in that aspect. Definitely drop a comment letting me know what's your favorite team and what you think the best team in the game is. I'm interested to see what you guys have to say. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like and don't forget to subscribe, because that shit is so important, so don't forget. Other than that, have a great day. See ya.